In this video, we're going to talk about some major pricing mistakes food photographers make, whether they're beginners or even more advanced food photographers. So if you're making any of these mistakes, then you're likely repelling clients, undercharging, or just leaving a ton of money on the table. So if you want to start doubling what you're charging clients or even tripling the amount of money you're making from photography, then let's jump straight into these. Okay, so the first pricing mistakes I see so many photographers making, which by the way, I also made when I was starting out for a very long time, and that is charging for the shoot time only. So here's what I mean. Now, when a client sends over a brief, and let's say you need to shoot 5 recipes, you will then go on to calculate that 5 recipes is going to take you a full day to shoot. You'll send over a proposal charging the client a full day shoot. Now, this is a big no, because what you're not doing is taking into account two big things: the pre-production time that it's going to take, as well as the post-production time. So pre-production is all the time that goes into your project before the shoot, such as any client meetings that you have. And in the industry, these are called PPM meetings or even pre-PPM meetings. You might also be spending time creating a mood board for the client, or perhaps you need some specialist equipment that you need to go down to the store and rent out, or perhaps you want to buy specific props. All of that is time taken away from your schedule to work on this particular project, which should be chargeable to the client. Then there's also post-production work, such as liaising with the client over email, and then the usual editing and color grading of images. So when you're coming up with your proposal and you're putting down your creative fee, you want to ensure that you're taking into account not just the shoot day time, but also all the tasks and times it takes you in pre-production as well as post-production. Okay, speaking of pricing and time, another common mistake when it comes to pricing your work for food photographer is actually pricing based on time. So bear with me here, because I just said in mistake number 1 that you should be charging for time taken in pre-production, shoot time, and post-production. So what do I mean when I say don't price just based on time? Your pricing basically shouldn't be based just on time. When I first started out in food photography nearly 15 years ago, it would probably take me a good hour to get that money shot. It took me a lot longer to get my lighting right. It took me a lot longer to make the food look good. But as I've become better and better at my job, I've gained experience and more skills. It takes me an average of about 10 minutes to get that money shot now. So if I just price my work based on time, then I'd be earning a lot less now than I did 14 years ago, because in the past it took me 1 hour to get a shot, so I'd be charging for an hour's worth of time for that one shot, and currently it takes me 10 minutes, so I'm only charging technically 10 minutes for one shot. So can you see how it doesn't make sense to price just based on time? At the end of the day, I'm now getting penalized for being really good at my job and taking less time to achieve that end result. And also, a client doesn't care how long it takes you to get the final image. They literally just care that you got them a good shot. So when it comes to your pricing, yes, your creative fee is based on how much time you're spending, but the creative fee shouldn't just be based on time, but also your skill levels, your experience, the value that you bring to the client, as well as all the other things we mentioned in the video earlier. So I always tell my students that when you're coming up with your hourly creative fee to kind of price your work, review that number based on intangible factors such as your experience, your skill level, the market value, and your value. Okay, let's move on to the third mistake that people make with their pricing. And this one really gets to me because it's such a guru thing that's been repeated over and over on social media, which is to charge what you're worth. Now, I'm sure not a day goes by that you're not scrolling on your Instagram feed and you get told to charge what you're worth. And I have so many problems with this statement. The first being, if you knew what you were worth, you wouldn't be asking people, how much should I charge? And what does this statement even mean? How do you define what your worth is? And your worth according to who? Is it according to what you think you're worth? Or is it according to what your client might think you're worth? Whose barometer are you judging it on? Because at the end of the day, it's your client that's going to be paying you. So why should they pay you based on what you think you're worth? On the other hand, should it be based on what you're worth according to them? And then another issue I have with this pay what you're worth statement is what you're worth is actually based on emotions, and emotions change every day. In fact, your emotions change every second. If one moment you're feeling really hyped and really good about the work you've produced, then your worth is suddenly going to go up in that moment. Whereas on the other hand, let's say you had a fight with your other half and you woke up on the wrong side of the bed that morning, you got a tummy ache today, you're not feeling that great about yourself, and suddenly your worth is now hit rock bottom. So if a client proposal comes in that day, does that mean you're going to charge how crap you're feeling? Can you see why charging based on what you're worth is such a wrong way to go about pricing your work? Your pricing should never be based on how you're feeling, but instead should be based on a number of factors, such as where you live, how much your skills and experience are worth, what your lifestyle's like, what's the market supply and demand, what are you expecting as your yearly salary, what are your expenses, and so much more. And trust me, none of these are based on your worth. Now, before I move on to the next pricing mistake, if you're worried about pricing mistakes when it comes to food photography, you're also likely wanting to work with photography clients and have paying clients on a consistent basis. And if that's the case, then I have a full free mini course on how to send high converting cold pitch emails to clients so that you can turn these strangers into those paying clients. So if you've struggled to find paying clients before, or you're never hearing back from those cold pitches that you're sending, or perhaps you just want to add one more way to market your services outside of Instagram and actually get clients, then make sure you hit the link in the description box for this free mini course. Okay, on to the next mistake when it comes to pricing, and that's when you put your own money and mindset beliefs onto your clients. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this, because this is not something you hear a lot as a common pricing mistake, but it's probably one of the most important ones that I've mentioned today. If you're one of those food photographers that's constantly worrying that clients won't respond back because your prices are too high, or clients will never have the budget to pay for your prices. Perhaps you're also fearing rejection and being turned down by potential clients because of your pricing. Or maybe you even underpriced your proposal because you're worried. Maybe you look at your prices and you think, heck, my food photos aren't even good enough to charge those prices. Or maybe you have this scarcity mindset that there's not enough work or enough clients, which then makes you settle for working for lower prices or sometimes even working for free. I'm here to tell you that all of these reasons are just your subconscious mind trying to keep you safe. You are literally making up stories about money based on your own money beliefs. You're making assumptions about the clients and what their budgets are based on what you believe about money. You're just running away with your imagination and making up stories about what's going to happen in the future when this future hasn't even happened yet. And when you make up these stories based on these beliefs, then your whole energy with which you're talking to a client on a discovery call, or writing a cold pitch email to a client, or sending a proposal to a client, and that's the same energy you are then attracting when it comes to clients who don't have budget, clients who are not willing to pay your prices, clients who are constantly negotiating you on budget, or even clients who are expecting things for free. Whatever your mind is going to focus on is what you're going to attract. So if you're always going to be focusing on scarcity and lack, then that's what you're going to attract and get. So here's my top mindset and energy tip that I use before I jump onto a client call, or if I'm sending a cold pitch email, or whenever I'm doing any type of marketing in my business. I always go into these tasks trying to maintain as detached as I can from the outcome. My energy going in is, if the client says yes, that's great. If the client says no, that's great. Because at the end of the day, there's an abundance of work and clients and brands out there, and I don't need this client. I'm not reliant on this one client. A needy energy will only attract more neediness, and being needy is never a good personality trait. Just think about your friend circle group. You're always going to avoid that person who's constantly needy. And then when you detach yourself from the outcome of a cold pitch email or a sales call, your self-worth and how you feel about yourself and your skills and your business is now not based on somebody else's action, and is also not based on an outcome. And honestly, this has been something that's been really difficult for me, because at the end of the day, we're humans and we want to get these jobs and we want to bag these clients. But the more you practice the skill of detachment, the easier it's going to get. Okay, next I want you to jump into this video, which is all about mistakes that food photographers make when they're sending out cold pitches. If you've ever emailed a cold client hoping to work with them, and you spent hours writing the email and then you don't even hear back, then you'll find this video super helpful. I'll catch you there.